40. That's the number of cybersecurity tools that most large companies have in their environment today. They spend anywhere between 8 to 15% of their total budget on security. And yet, breaches are still happening every single day. So the question is, why does security still fail, even when organizations have all these controls in place? You see, the problem is not lack of tools. The problem is how these controls are designed, connected, and operated. If you break down a typical cybersecurity budget, around 40% of it goes into tools, 30% to people, and the rest to infrastructure and external services. Now, on paper, that looks like a strong security investment, but here is what I see all the time. Organizations are buying controls or tools, but they are not building capability. Security doesn't fail because controls are missing. It fails because controls don't work together. To understand this better, let me simplify how security actually works. Think of cybersecurity as layers of protection. Not one solution, but multiple layers working together. At the core, you have identity and access, then you have network security, endpoint security, application, and data security. And finally, your ability to detect, respond, and recover. These are what we call control domains. Each layer is designed to protect the next. This layered approach is called defense in depth. No single control is perfect, but together they reduce risk significantly. And here's the reality. Most organizations don't fail because a layer is missing. They fail because the layers are disconnected. Security does not fail inside the layer. It fails between the gaps. Now, for example, your identity controls might be strong, but not linked to your endpoint. Your endpoint detects something suspicious, but that signal never translates into a response. Your network is segmented, but your applications don't enforce the same logic. Your data exists, but maybe you did not classify it, so cannot be protected properly. And see, attackers have got it easy. They just need to get it right. They don't have to break through one control. They just move across weak connections between controls. Now, let me show you how a typical breach actually unfolds in the real world. It starts with something simple. A phishing email where a user clicks the email, enters their credentials, and now the attacker has access. This is your identity layer. The system allowed login, but it had no context of risk or anomaly. Now that access is gained, the attacker moves to the endpoint, running scripts, installing malware, ransomware, or maybe just sitting there. This is your endpoint security layer. Now, the endpoint detection, the EDR, might detect something unusual, but the signal is not tied back to identity. So from there, the attacker moves laterally across the network. Laterally means they just keep moving from one part of the network to the other part, looking for systems that trust this user. This is your network layer. The network sees the traffic, but does not understand who the user really is. And eventually, they reach the applications, often using valid credentials. And the single sign-on makes it much easier. So nothing looks suspicious so far. Now that is your application security layer. The application trusts the login, but does not question behavior. Now they have got access to sensitive data, and in many cases, nothing really stops them. And this is your data security layer. Now, we never started with classifying it, so we're not sure if it's accurately protected. And at some point between all of this drama, some alerts might have gone up, but they are usually late. And by the time someone looks at the alerts, which means detection exists, but the response is delayed or they don't connect together. And by the time the response comes together, the damage is already done. You see, at every stage, there was a control that could have stopped this, but because these controls were not connected, the attacker did not need to break security. They just needed to move through it. You see? Did you notice something? It just exploited the lack of connection between controls. And this is exactly what we are going to break down in this series. Not just what each control domain is, but how it actually works in real world, where it fails, and how to make it effective. Because security is not about individual controls. It is about how they work together. So let me ask you, which of these domains do you think is the weakest in most organizations today? Any guesses? Drop me it in the comments. And in the next video, we will start with the most critical one, access control. See you on the other side. Oh, and if you have not already done it, hit that subscribe button now so you know when the video is live.